Welcome back once again to the Ecotech Podcast. As always, I'm your host, the Plains of Spain, Jay, and joined with me as always is my co-host, the Reigns, Z. How are you doing today, Z?
Oh, pretty good. Not so bad. A little sleepy, that's all.
I'm a little sleepy as well, even though it's not that late when we're recording.
Yeah,
and we made an effort to not record at 1 a.m. like we've been doing for the past couple weeks, but that hasn't worked at all.
No, we're a couple sleepy boys. Not as sleepy, though. We'll be peppy. We'll be full of pep.
We always are. Full of pep.
In zim and zam and energy.
Piss and vinegar, as the kids say.
Right.
Kids say that?
Nope.
I don't know why we're saying
Really
kids.
old
We're
people.
not that old.
Mm-mm.
Sometimes we speak like old people.
Yeah.
Like 1950s to 1920s fast talking man, eh?
Oh, we can't. We can't do the transatlantic accent bit already.
Oh, no.
We can spoil it on the intro. All right.
So we're going to start this week by talking about the first half of Season 5 of Rick and Morty.
That's right. Attacking a Rick and Morty.
So, what do you think?
So I should say, I watched it all today to catch up for this. And I also watched the last episode of Season 4, which I had not watched prior to this. I thought that episode was really good, actually. And then
That's
really
the Clone Beth one, right?
Yeah, so that's the one where Space Beth shows up, and then they have the whole, which one's really Space Beth, and Phoenix Person's in it, and they kill Tammy, which is pretty funny.
Invisibility belt's in that.
The Invisibility Belt. I think that's a really classic, good Rick and Morty episode. I was like, this is solid stuff. And then I really liked the first episode of Season 5 with Mr. Nimbus.
Mr. Nimbus?
Yeah, Mr. Nimbus. But in particular, I really liked the weird little pocket dimension where they kept the wine that Morty kept going to, and each time he went in there, some horror befell some poor soul, and then the legend of him grew over years and centuries,
Millennia, probably.
It was really good. That also was some really classic Rick and Morty stuff. I feel like Rick and Morty is very good at this at times. Is telling a sort of, I don't even know what the word would be, but kind of constructing a bit of a, I guess a facade of a story, right?
Shell of a story.
The shell of a story. That's a good way to put it. Maybe is just kind of using visual shorthand and stuff, and leaning on cliche and tropes and stuff to build a bit of a narrative without actually having doing very much work. So even though we only got little glimpses of that, you kind of got the vibe. You're all right, now they're doing a Lord of the Rings fantasy sort of situation. Now
Chronicles of Narnia. He references the Narnia world,
of course, and now it's you got the vibes, right? Even though they could have only spent I don't know, 6 minutes there total. It's there was these little stories that played out each time. Obviously it started small with just that man
his wife.
He returned to his wife and she was dead, and his son was all fucked up, and then the son was old, but then he was old and had kids of his own, and then they swore to stop him, and then the kingdom rose up, and then there was the part where the son of the king is oh, you're a fool, father, and he's no, the boy will return.
And then he becomes
There's a weird
evil,
devil man,
and the devil man has a whole speech about how always a lie and religion thing. But then he was real. Marty just showed up and goes, "Oh my god, it's real!" And he realized his whole life was a lie.
Yeah,
they do a lot. They play a lot with that in Rick and Morty. I feel
they do,
but I feel that's kind of known that they just make oh, it's one thing. Realize it's just a lie. Everything you think was made. We all made it up.
You know what I mean? I feel understood a lot of that, even though it was, again, I don't know, the B plot of that episode.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Only about probably 6 minutes of the runtime, and you still got the vibe. Now they're into fantasy, now they're into a sci-fi, now they're into they've transcended,
Cyberpunk.
and they're yeah. So I don't know. I really liked that episode. Then I don't know. I think they probably started to go a little downhill for me from there.
I was okay with the first episode. It wasn't my favorite, but it wasn't bad. I didn't not enjoy it. Episode 2 I really liked.
Not quite. I quite enjoyed that one as well.
Because I felt that, to me, that's what I kind of like. It's Rick and Morty. It was it was doing a lot of things. It was kind of just keeping it just what a what the fuck is happening kind of thing, which I think was pretty good. But I can see why people would be oh, this is they're just doing the same thing for the whole episode.
Yeah, that's what I said to you, is that whole episode is essentially the same 2-minute bit just done in a row repeatedly, right?
Yeah, endlessly.
Just you think this is the real family. Oh wait, nope, it was a decoy.
And
then it goes to, the decoy family's killed. All right, now we get, and then it just keeps going until obviously the very end. I guess we get the real ones.
Well, we assume are the real ones.
That's actually something I wanted to mention to you. Is because there's been a number of episodes obviously that mess around with this idea, and does it even matter?
I don't think it matters.
Does it matter to the show if it's the same Rick and Morty this whole time? Because I've seen people theorize or whatever that it's in fact a different Rick and Morty pretty much every episode. Because
Why not?
Like, it wouldn't really affect stuff, which I think
Yeah,
is
they're all
interesting.
pretty much the same.
I mean, it really makes no difference to me one way or the other.
Yeah, it's not that kind of show.
Yeah, it's
But
just something
also, we talked about this when we were watching it. Is they kind of just want to be both. I feel that they want to be this like nothing matters. That kind of it's just like a fun episode every week. But sometimes it's like no, Rick's sad at the end of this episode. He tries to kill himself.
Yeah.
Well, after Unity, it's like well,
yeah, I
pick
said that
one,
exact same
Dan
thing to you.
Harmon.
Is like, on the one hand, they want to seem to be like we're a little more serious. Like, it's still a cartoon, like, so it has some tropes, obviously, of like they're all wearing the same clothes every episode, right? No one gets older, even though it's been 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that, which is just inherent to a lot of like adult cartoons, like a Family Guy type situation, right? But at the same time, they do seem to want to be like, oh, no, we're more serious though. The characters, they are deep and they have like development and like adult emotions and shit. But then, yeah, and I told this to you, is like, it seems like at the same time though, they would be more willing to push that aside for the sake of just
Doing
a
a
funny
weird
episode or a weird episode or a gag or whatever. So like, they do have development more so than maybe other shows, but it also feels kind of secondary.
I feel like they want to have their cake and eat it too. Cause
Right.
sometimes I feel like they're very much like a Seinfeld mentality. Because Larry David is famous for his like philosophy of no hugs, no learning, and
Yeah.
funny always wins. Like it doesn't matter if the character would do this or not, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
If it's funny, they're gonna do it because it's a sitcom. If it's funny, people will like it
See,
and they
but-
don't really care.
Right, but Seinfeld really does commit to that.
Yeah, that's
Right?
what I'm saying. They don't.
No one,
They don't pretend.
there's like never almost any self-reflection in that show.
Except for
Genuine.
the last episode of
But even
season
that
9.
is also just kind of funny. Like,
Yeah.
there's never any genuine heart-to-heart. The characters really, truly never do learn anything. Whereas this, Rick and Morty, it seems like sometimes they want to be like, oh, this is a big one, he learned it, right? Like, I'm thinking of, like you said, the one after Unity, when he, like, tries to kill himself but doesn't. Or, like, at the end of season 3, when he's like, all right, I will go with you guys. I'll go with the Federation. I'm going to sacrifice myself for my family, right?
That was season 2.
Is that the end of
That
season
was 2,
2?
yeah. 3, he breaks out of prison at the beginning.
At the beginning of season 3, that is? The Rick Shank redemption?
Yeah, that's what
Okay,
it was.
my
That's
bad.
why it's the Rick Shank redemption, because he breaks out of prison.
So that one, though. Like, then the Rick Shank redemption happens, and then they're like, we're going to be together as a family. You know what? We are going to be... We're not going to let you... I'm not going to let you manipulate me anymore, Dad. Like, this is Beth, right?
Yeah.
She's like, well, I'm going to take Jerry back because I do like him or whatever. And screw you.
No, that was the end of season 3.
Oh, jeez.
Not the beginning. At the beginning of season 3,
Oh, gosh. I'm all...
Jerry takes a stand out against Beth and goes,
Oh,
it's him or
and
me,
then-
and
okay.
then they divorce. And then the rest of the season is
then-
them
you're
dealing
right,
with
you're
that.
right.
That's what I really didn't like, actually. That's what
See,
kind of made me
that's...
drop
so,
off of Rick and
obviously,
Morty.
I'm kind of muddled, but, like, you get what I'm saying, right? Like, none of these really stick.
Right, no, I agree.
It's, again, they want to be like, we do actually change, and these characters actually do, like, develop and stuff, but it seems like they pretty much always just return to the status quo.
Yeah, they're-
like, if not by the end of, like, a season, oftentimes by just the end of an episode.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I was really fallen off, because I used to be a pretty big fan of Rick and
I mean,
Morty.
I'll say that, like, we're being a little critical right now, but I personally, I did enjoy a lot of it. The first couple episodes I watched in particular, I was, like, genuinely, like, laughing. And even in the end, I was getting laughs out of it and stuff. Like, I think part of the problem around Rick and Morty is that, like, it has been hyped up so much that maybe people are unfairly expecting it to be more than it is.
Yeah.
When, like, it's probably better than, like, a Family Guy, but maybe it should be approached more on that level of just a funny adult cartoon, not, like, the greatest thing you've ever seen,
Yeah,
right?
Not
Like,
the greatest since sliced bread.
you shouldn't expect every episode to actually be,
Hard hitting.
hard-hitting and, like, mind-blowing and really world-ending. Like, some of them can just be funny, and, like, I think that should be fair. Like, I don't think you should, we should discredit them because they are just, like, kind of just more light, funny episodes from time to time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I said, I was on board pretty much. I was like, oh, it's great. It's a good show. Up until like halfway through season 4, actually. The end of season 3 really turned me off. I was not a fan of how they handled the last 2 episodes. I did not like the ABCs of Beth. I felt they did not. I felt they just made Beth's character just like bad. You know, like Beth's like the whole thing is like, oh, she's not
Could
a
you
very.
refresh me? Which one? What's that?
That's the one where the A plot is Beth and Rick go to that world, the Fruity Land world he makes for her.
Okay, yeah.
And she's in denial from the fact that she was like kind of a psycho kid,
Mm-hmm.
and that she's Rick's daughter. And that's the first time the clone is brought up.
Right, okay.
And that leads into the episode where she's
Yep.
like, "Am I the clone?" And then she takes Jerry back, which I still don't know why she would do that, because he's not any better. He doesn't change.
Right. Again, no one's really improved. It's weird. And I guess Rick most of all, because, like, obviously he's... I mean, they're all obviously the main sort of characters, but, like...
He's one half of the title.
Right. And they seem to do that whole thing a lot of, like, Rick really is getting... Like, maybe he has learned something this time, but he never does, because they do that, like, twice a season.
Yeah, they do maybe my family is important. Maybe I do like the people I chose to live with.
And I guess in, like, a low background way that is kind of present. Like, the decoy episode kind of did that, right? Where there was that part towards the end where they literally like, all right, we're going to do the moral right now. And then they do. And, like, oh, the fact that he had this many decoy families was because he really does care about his family. He doesn't want to lose them. All right, that's nice and all. But also, like, day to day, he just still acts the same.
He's still kind of just an asshole. And then the one I feel is... I just think Rick... I don't know. I don't really care too much about Rick being like that, because it is kind of weird. One thing I really don't like, I mean, I'll probably say it all, but it's just like when Morty does it, and I don't really like Beth. I don't like Beth, Jerry, or Summer at all, and I don't like how Morty's character just slides back and forth between, like, hardened, like, jaded kid who, like, spent too much time with Rick and now, like, understands the world.
Right.
Like I said, it'll jump around, like we've been saying, each episode. Like, one episode he'll be like, no, this is the world, this sucks. But the next episode he'll have to learn the lesson that no good deed goes unpunished. But he learns that episode last season, every season he learns that lesson. And it's
sometimes he really does seem like he is on his way to being whatever, like Rick's apprentice or something. Like, he knows what's up. And then, sometimes he just kind of slides back to, like, season 1 Morty or something, where he's just kind of a goober.
It's like, oh, jeez, Rick, oh, jeez.
Yeah, no, for real, though. Like, it's like... And I guess it wouldn't be such a problem if they didn't do it so much. Like, again, it is just a cartoon, like... And so I do think that's to be expected. Like, we mentioned earlier, but just off the show when we were just talking about it, we mentioned, like, that in Family Guy. A lot of those characters are similar, right?
Yeah.
They just kind of go all over the place. But I think they don't... I don't know. I guess Family Guy does do morals as well. I don't know. Maybe again, this is just a side effect of, like, expecting too much out of Rick and Morty. But it just seems like they want to be like, we're so deep. We're playing the deep music, and Rick's going to kill himself. Isn't that... Whoa. This is so deep, and, like, this is heavy right now, right? But then next episode, he's fine. Like, that never gets brought up again. And he literally does that, like, once an episode, or once a season, or once or twice a season. It feels like he, like, goes and cries head down in the garage.
Like, or, like, they do it in season 4 when he has that toilet. At the end of the episode, he's all sad and depressed.
That one, yeah.
They just do it again. It's
they
like...
do it all the time.
It's like,
and
why?
I don't know what's up with it. I mean, maybe, Jack. Maybe that's the most real. Because everyone has good days and bad days.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's really the moral here.
No, I don't know if it is what they're going for either.
Also, I think some of the episode premises, I just can't get behind it. Like, I just can't get behind it anymore.
I kind of agree. It's very hit or miss. Like I said, I thought that the one with Mr. Nimbus, like, Mr. Nimbus, I think was funny. Like, his whole thing. That plot was funny. And then I also really did enjoy the B plot of Morty going into the pocket dimension.
One thing I didn't like about the episode is that they just give him Jessica and then take it away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, why even do it then?
Because, again, status quo.
Why even bother?
It's just status quo. It always comes back to status quo. And, like, that episode was funny, I think. And that was also, like, an interesting sci-fi concept, right? What they do well is that they do actual, like, kind of sci-fi stuff, but also it's funny. So I thought that episode did that. And then, like, the next episode, that was also pretty sci-fi, right? Like, all the clone families, he's talking about Asimov and...
Yeah, the Asimov... What's it?
I don't remember.
Cascade?
Oh, yeah, the Asimov Cascade. And shit like that, which is interesting. And also sci-fi. And that one was also pretty funny, I thought.
I like when they get down to, like, how, like, it's like, oh, it's a copy of a copy of a copy, so it's gonna get bad.
Yeah, they got to the point where they're just, like...
Scarecrows.
Or, like, weird Pinocchio.
Or, like, androids, or the...
Yeah, they're just, like...
And then as puppets ones.
Very clearly metal robots.
Yeah, I think that was pretty good.
But, like... And then you get to ones, though, like, the one where it's just a bunch of sperm.
Oh, I hate that. Like, that one just isn't enjoyable to watch. Like, it's just so gross to me. Like, I don't want to watch it.
Nothing. Like,
it's nothing.
I mean, it wasn't, to me, it was so, like, ridiculous that it was hardly even, you kind of just separate it from any kind of real human biology.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of dumb.
And then it ends with them making an incest baby.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Like, why?
And I don't know, man.
And then there's the weird horse people, the Chuds.
The Chuds. That was actually my favorite part of that one. That was kind of funny. But it just seems like too much at once.
Yeah, why are you doing horse people and sperm?
Out of nowhere. And, like, it feels... It's one of those things where it feels like we should know the Chuds, but we don't. I mean, we haven't actually seen them before. But we're meant to understand that they do. Like, they all know the Chuds.
And they've been fighting them for centuries. The president even knows
Yeah,
them.
that's fine. Like, but yeah, the sperm thing was just goofy.
It's too much. Also, when I
don't know. I don't know how they go between like actual, genuine, like good sci-fi kind of concepts and stuff down to just that.
Yeah.
Because that's like sci-fi on paper, but not even really, because there's nothing really actual scientific about that. It's just, what if sperm became big monsters?
What if they were just big monster sperm?
I won't pretend I'm above a bit of toilet humor or whatever, but I don't know. That one just didn't do it for me.
That one, yeah, I feel like it goes too far.
And maybe that's the joke. Is like they just really hammered in so much that it becomes funny again. That it like wasn't really a funny joke, but if you just do it enough, it just gets so ridiculous that it is. But I don't know. It didn't work for
I've
me.
never really found that concept where it's like, well, it'll come back around.
Yeah.
I've never found that because usually I just get annoyed. I'm like, this is so annoying. I don't want. Then I'll just turn it off. Like I'll just stop interacting with the thing before that point. Another episode from last season that I thought was kind of dumb was the snake one. Like,
I don't mind the snake one.
I
will say I've only seen it the once, and it's my memory is not super vivid of it right now, but I remember enjoying it well enough.
I just remember going like, I just don't like it. I really think the big problem was it was one of those episodes like I was talking about earlier, where Morty slides back to season 1 Morty because he's like, well, I gotta save the snake. I gotta send a snake from Earth to the all snake planet. But like Morty should know better than that.
Season 3, it really felt like they tried to do up like. We're all having character development.
We're all on the same page.
Yeah, Morty's like developed and he's like hard, like you said, like hardened and he knows what's up. And Beth is gonna stand her ground against her dad, and Jerry's on his own, but that means he's gonna do some growing of his own and stuff. And then when it seems like at the end of that season, when everyone kind of just got reunited, it just reverted right back to the
status quo,
which is not great. Like Morty's still like just a goober. Horned up teenager, like, and obviously
but he's like he's overly horny. I feel.
Oh no, it's absurd.
It's like he's too horny.
It's I don't think it's very fun anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, because this like the sperm episode is almost like kind of just the similar thing of like the robot from season 1 or 2, where he gets the robot pregnant. Like it's just I don't know. It's just I agree. Like how many plots can we do that of just that
of like a 14-year-old boy being real horny all the time? I mean, it is a cartoon, but it's like it's still in your head.
Like you said, like the Jessica thing has been floating around forever, and then they kind of seem like, oh, it's actually he's just working. That's cool. Maybe he'll actually just end up with Jessica. But then they do the whole, which I actually thought this was funny when she has her monologue about the nature of time and how she's gazed into the abyss or whatever. Like that, I thought that was kind of fun. But then also she's like, yeah, sorry, Marty. I think we should just be friends, and just walks away.
Yeah, I feel like they just kind of didn't want to use that plot point anymore.
And then he gets with Planetina or whatever the hell she's called.
And that ends terribly. But then he's like, oh no, I can't believe this went badly. It's again another episode. I think that's really what come back to. It's just like we've done it so many, like they're just rehashing it.
And because I brought up to you the one from last season where he's got that device that like can undo stuff, the
like
little rewind remote.
Yeah,
the little rewind remote thing. And he meets that girl, and then like he lives seemingly like years and years with her, like almost a lifetime. And then he accidentally rewinds it. And
I think Jerry doesn't actually. He touches the button. And
you're right. That's it. And then he's back in the moment. But then he messes it up so that moment doesn't play out properly again, and the chance is ruined to him. And I was like, I said to you, I was like, surely that should have been much more traumatic to him than the what's her name? Planetina? That's not literally what she's called, is it?
Yeah, it's Planetina.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it literally is.
All right. I thought I was.
What is not going to be fucking Julia?
I don't know. I thought I should figure that out. But so like that, he's all like crying, but like there was hardly a second spared for it in that episode where again, literally like years and years of his life seem to have been lost to him, and like. Again, it's whatever, because it is just a cartoon, I suppose. I'm not going to, like, but it's just weird how sometimes they decide to actually give weight to stuff and sometimes they don't. I don't know how else to say it. Again, maybe that's unfair of me to expect from them, because it is, again, just a cartoon, and maybe we should just treat it more like that, but it's just hard for me to, like, pass it sometimes.
No, I definitely agree. I definitely think because it's been going on for so long, it's just because of the expectation that comes with it. Like they've made this, like we keep saying, like they were like, no, we're serious. We're serious. It's big boy time. But then you're like, oh, also Morty has killer sperm.
Well, yeah, because I guess the thing is, if it really is no different than a Family Guy or whatever generic cartoon, then I guess what's the point? I guess the point is that, like, maybe it is unfair, but, like, that's the reason everyone likes it, because, like, this is, like, something special.
Yeah, it's something different.
It's above average. So, like, I think it is fair to expect to be a little bit better than... Again, if they want to do, like, entire episodes where it's, like, we're developing as a family, we're going to therapy, right? You do, like, the Pickle Rick episode, where the whole thing, the conclusion of that is, like, no, Rick, you do need to, like, open up with your family and all. But then actually no one actually learns anything in future episodes. It's kind of like, then why do we do a whole episode where they went to therapy?
I mean, what's even the point?
Like...
I mean, the Pickwick episode is funny, and, like,
I
I do
like
like
it
that
just
episode.
fine. I'm just saying, it's like, you can't... Again, I guess it's just want their cake and eat it, too.
Yeah.
You can't do funny episodes like that. Or you can't do, like, serious episodes and then just totally
disregard
them for a different joke in a later episode.
Like a weird, out there premise. I know they've got, like...
Because it's like, does Beth actually like her family or not? I guess we don't know. Oh, that's the thing I wanted to bring up to you on the show here while we were talking about it. So, at the end of the Beth, whatever the season 4 finale is called.
Clone Beth or Space Beth or whatever?
Whatever that episode's called. At the end of that, he watches the Mind Blower, right? That shows him what he did, which one was which, right?
Right, takes the tags off.
And then he's like, oh, I'm not terrible. So do you think that revealed to him that he has no way of knowing which one's which? Or do you think at the end of that, off screen, like while we couldn't see, he saw which one was which?
I think that's meant to say that even he won't know which one is which.
Is that what? Because I was going to ask you, what do you think? Because at the end he's like, I'm such a terrible dad, and then it's another like, I'm sad in the garage.
No, I think it's that he couldn't bring himself to like switch
to
them
know
around.
himself?
So he was like, yeah. So he's like, I'll take the labels off and I'll spin them around so much that I won't even remember. So that and then I'll erase my memory. So I couldn't, because I'm sure if he had his memory, he could probably run through his head a couple times.
So that's kind of, I guess that sort of makes sense though, because that means that at any point, I guess that does make sense for why he was kind of so down on himself at the end of that, because he was at any point in that episode, he seemed literally to not care either way.
Yeah,
they truly did seem interchangeable to him, which we kind of assumed was like, oh, well, he knows which one. He's just lying, right? He just says shit like that sometimes, but he really does know. Because there's been a few episodes that have dealt with that, which is like, where he's like, oh, if you guys died, Morty and Summer, I'd just get clones of you. It doesn't matter. They're like, oh, but you didn't though. You made sure you got us back. So
you got
you really
are the versions of us that you know.
So do you really think that way? And he's like, whatever. But so that just means in that episode, if that episode had gone differently, and one of them had actually died, he would have no way of knowing
if that was the real.
If it was his real daughter or not. So I guess that. But then again, it's also like none of them could. Again, assuming that we have been following the same Rick and Morty since the beginning, their family all dies in season 1, right?
Yeah.
When they did the Cronenberg universe, they've already been with. This is already a lie. Like
they already live a lie, or and exactly like we keep saying, they circle back. They do that episode where Morty reveals to Summer that he's not her. He's not really
they're
the
not
Morty.
Really the ones.
They're not really their brother and sister, but
close enough, I guess, in the way that they all are pretty close. But yeah, they are truly not. His universe was like consumed and he had to jump, and
they're
Morty
just
died.
variants.
They're essentially like
all variants of each other.
And again, a lot of them are very close, but like it's just weird. It's just weird that they want to. I guess that's all it is. It's like I can only take it seriously so many times when they want to get deep in an episode, and like this is we're gonna have our lesson and we're gonna really learn something about each other when the writers don't actually seem to take that into account. So like, why should I care?
They don't even seem to care at all.
How many morals at the end of an episode can I take when they just don't seem to give a shit?
Exactly.
I don't know. That's all. But again, I think we're being a little hard on it just for the sake of discussion here. I do think it's still just enjoyable and fun. I guess episode to episode, I don't really think about all that. You really should just kind of take it at face value. Like, this one's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I think it's still pretty good. I like him. I know some people have said like it's dropped off a little, but I don't know. I think I still enjoy it pretty much as I've always have. Because even in the early seasons, I think there's definitely episodes that I like less.
Right.
I don't think I know like in the first couple episodes, everyone was freaking out like, oh my god, you seen this Rick and Morty show? Like,
it's amazing.
It was an absolute phenom. But I don't. I think even those early episodes those early seasons have weaker episodes.
Right, yeah.
Like, I don't particularly like the one where they go into, it's like Jurassic Park, but it's in someone's stomach or whatever. You know that one?
Oh, yeah, they go into that hobo.
That one
takes
doesn't.
care of.
I don't love that one. That one
With
doesn't-
John
isn't
Oliver as a
particularly
guest voice.
funny to me. I don't know. There's a lot, so it's like, yeah, it's hit or miss, and that's fine. That's just fine. I don't know. It's just pretty good.
Which how shows are.
Again, like I think it's because there was a while there in particular where there was so much hype around it, and people were jumping on counters and yelling for their Szechuan sauce.
Oh God.
But luckily, that's died down a bit now, and I think it's just a pretty good show.
Yeah.
You watching it? I don't know. Did I have anything else? The only thing I've written here is no one really learns anything.
I mean,
And that's what we've been saying. So.
kind of use on that a lot.
Yeah.
We're probably just gonna do the next 5 episodes when they come out. We'll probably watch.
Yeah.
Just do them in groups
Do
of
the
5.
finale.
Because really, there's not a lot to talk about.
Yeah, episode to episode, you can't really.
Like we said, no one changes. So we just kind
Yeah.
of give a 5-episode review just to have a lot.
So
of
what
time.
do you think? I know I keep mentioning it because I did watch it today, but ignoring the season 4 one of these season 5 episodes, what do you think is the best? Your favorite?
Episode 2.
I think mine's probably episode 1, but episode 2 would be close for me. And then like the sperm one's really whatever. I didn't mind episode 5 with the car, and then the B plot is.
No, the B plot is the car. The A plot is the hell.
I guess the A plot's the car, or the hell. You're right. Sorry, my bad.
That's
the
annoying.
the hell was
That's-
pretty fun.
At that point, I already watched like 2 episodes of it, and I watched the sperm one because I did watch them today, but earlier today, and I was just like kind of checked out, and then just like listening to them be like, I like it, but it's bad, so I love it even more, but it's good.
I don't know, there's a couple times where I thought that was done well.
Sometimes it was done well, but I feel like they could kind of just kept.
The end when they call him like towards the end there when they're in hell, and they call the guy like coat hanger face or whatever, and he's like, I'm coat hanger head.
Yeah.
And then-
no coat. No, he's coat rack head. And
Whatever he is, and then Beth is like, yeah, but isn't that like good? He's like, oh yeah, no, that was super cool. Whatever. Like I don't know. I thought there was a couple times it was funny.
Yeah.
But that was another one where it's like, Beth, you shouldn't be mean to your husband.
He's your husband. You chose
Like,
to
holy
marry
shit,
him.
you've like divorced and got him or whatever, separated and got back together with this guy like 3 times. I'm like, Jesus Christ, because he really hasn't got better.
He's just the same.
Like, you're right. And
he's
again,
just
I
the
guess maybe
worst.
Beth hasn't either, but like he's just as pathetic as he once was. And again, there is a few times where he's like, you know what, I am taking a stand though. This is my house. You know, I am going to be the man of this house. Or like I deserve respect in this family too. And then, but this season he's just back to being absolutely trod upon by literally everyone.
And he just enjoys it.
Summer and more, like his children do, his wife does, Rick obviously does with no care.
And they even have that episode in season 3 where they go to that amusement park, and like Rick tries to be nice to him, and then Jerry is just shitty, tries to kill him, and like joins that plot.
Yeah.
And then Rick has that speech where he's like, "You kind of fucked everything up. Like you're just a predator, but you're just not open about it." Like Rick is I guess in a sense they're both quote unquote. I sound like a weirdo saying this. Predators. I'm doing air
whatever.
quotes.
They're both manipulated.
They're manipulated, but Rick is more like out there and like very like clearly manipulative. But Jerry is submissive in a way, so it's it's kind of background. Like you don't view it as that at first.
But again, that's not really gotten better. I don't know.
No, he just
whatever.
Really,
I guess at the same time, they also like the show was funny and enjoyable in those first seasons, obviously because of the character dynamics in part that they set up. So, I suppose we can't have them like doing fundamental changes to the characters because again, it is just a cartoon where they're kind of just caricatures of humans, right? They're a bit over the top, and if you start to make them more nuanced, I guess, and real, and like have them grow, suddenly they're not the same characters, really, for the purposes of a cartoon, and they're not as funny, I guess. So, like, at the same time, maybe I'd be complaining, like, man, if they had stuck to every change they've done over the years, maybe we'd been like, man, season 5 is
kind of a drag,
unrecognizable compared to season 1. Like, they don't seem to be the same people at all.
Yeah.
So I'm probably just impossible to please, but
yeah. To that credit, kind of critical about it, but I feel like it's kind of tough because, like you said, like if they do every single change, they'll just kind of be depressed all the time and sad. Maybe more realistic, but it's a cartoon where with a car that's made of trash. But also, they run the risk of flanderization.
I was gonna say you could go the other way. I was gonna bring up flanderization as well
because obviously The Simpsons and Family Guy.
Is that if you go the other way, then maybe, and they probably are. To be fair, they probably still are. Even although maybe it's not super bad, but I bet if I went back watch season 1 again, they're probably a little more over the top than they were even then.
Yeah.
Again, like I think
Summer, but Summer becomes more of a character.
She becomes much more of a character, I think. Yeah. She really is kind of one of she's like kind of a pseudo Morty now. Like she also just does adventures with them and stuff, obviously. Whereas in the early seasons, she really was just like generic teenage girl character.
Yeah, background, not caring what her weird grandpa and her brother.
So
did.
like that's probably a change for the better, I would say. I don't hate Summer. A lot of episodes Summer's actually I think pretty good.
I don't like Summer.
I guess I like her more than you do.
Yeah, I'm not really a huge fan of Summer. I don't really like how she kind of is the same. Like I'm a woman. I have an opinion. It's like we did that every season.
Right.
Why do we keep like?
Yeah, they do bring that.
I don't like. I don't want to keep. Are we like undermining the character? Like I don't know what we're doing here, man.
Well, right, because then it's like I don't know. I feel like when you bring that up too much, it just gets a little weird. Because it's like, no, Summer and Beth both can be flawed and often are and do make mistakes and stuff. It's nothing to do with them being women though. Like it's not.
They're just characters.
Their strengths or weaknesses don't just come from the fact that they're women. Like obviously the sperm episode in particular, they really like play it up because she is just correct and they just all ignore her because she's a woman or whatever, right?
Yeah, but that's kind of the joke.
That's a joke, obviously, fair enough. But like, yeah, there is a lot of other episodes where like they're just wrong. Like Beth is just shitty sometimes. Obviously, like again, she's a shitty wife on
and
occasion, shitty mother, yeah,
and a shitty husband too.
Sure, whatever. Obviously the episode she like was maybe a weird psycho kid who trapped her childhood friend in a demon dimension with weird, well not demon, but like a weird.
I mean, it would be a demon if they're all.
It would have been demonic for him. He fucked those creatures and then ate them and then fucked them more.
What gets me about that episode is how belligerent, like how much she fights against it. Like I feel like they really overdo that, and I get up to a point like you wouldn't. If she's confronting Rick, it does seem like he's deflecting to be like, well, actually, you're just as big as monster as me. I'm not bad. But then, what really gets me is that he pulls out all those things he made, which shows that A, he took the time to make all those things, and B, she asked for them, which shows that she's wrong in both directions. He cared enough to listen and make the things, that enough that they worked exactly how she wanted and didn't ask any questions, and didn't go, actually, you shouldn't have that, you're just a little girl. And she asked for, like, a taser and a switchblade. And
talked to her, right?
A sending switchblade and, like, an indestructible baseball bat and, like, a tracking sticker and, like, a police badge.
Yep.
And it's
like I see, because I quite enjoyed, again, I know it's the last season, but Space Beth. Because that was cool, that episode, because you were like, so, because they, in that ABCs of Beth episode, they do kind of be like, oh no, she is just her father's daughter, but we never really got anything of that until Space Beth. And I guess maybe, like, her being like her father doesn't literally need to mean that she has all the gadgets and everything exactly like him. I suppose, like, a more, like, realistic take on that is that she is similar to him in a lot of ways without literally doing the same exact
copy.
Yeah. But that was still neat, like, showing them fight, and, like, they're almost evenly matched when they were fighting in that episode, because she's got all the gadgets like he's got, and because that's what he tells her in the ABCs about the episode. It's like, you could be like me, like, you're as smart as me, or maybe smarter or whatever kind of deal. So that was kind of neat, but then again, like, she's only in that one episode. We don't see a lot of... The Beth that is still, like, around is just the normal one.
Yeah.
But whatever. I don't know. Again, we bashed a lot for conversation, but I like it just fine. It's pretty good. It's better than most. I mean, it is still better than, like, a Family Guy, which I also don't even hate. Like, again, if we just treat it a little more like that, like, it's just a funny show to watch, because I don't worry even a little about continuity in that show. Like,
oh, yeah, that should...
I can just turn it off then. Again, maybe it's because Rick and Morty, like, is trying a little harder, and they want you to be like, we're doing themes. We've got themes here. Look at them. That, like, you do kind of want to be like, well, when they want to do it up a little more, you kind of want to look at them a little more critically, but
yeah,
it is just kind of fun.
Yeah, they're focusing all that attention on themselves.
Yeah.
Also, I really don't like Dan Harmon very much. He's kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
So that's just...
Can't win them all.
That's just the main thing.
Looks a lot like Santa now, eh?
He does. He does. On the inside of the episodes, he really does.
Yeah.
All right, so probably on that note, I could tack into this episode of The Bad Batch.
Yeah, sure.
There isn't a ton to talk about in this week,
No.
but I did find it... I remember last week we were pretty critical, because we don't learn, obviously, anything new, because we just go to Ryloth again, and we just meet Hera, who we already knew.
Yeah.
I thought this episode was a little better, because we meet that Roland dude.
Yeah. A couple new characters.
And we get more, like, Sid is kind of more their friend. You know, we kind of develop a little bit more, I feel.
I think that this episode definitely answered the question of if Sid is actually just a good, like, friendly character. And I think it's obviously pretty safe to say this now. It'd be quite elaborate if they did it. I mean, we've, 3 episodes left? 2 episodes left?
And Cressler didn't show up.
They failed us again.
Yeah.
They failed us again. So it'd be weird now if they did, like, she was evil all along. Like, after an episode like this, I think it's pretty safe to say that she's just... I mean, she is obviously still, like, a somewhat shady underworld character. But I think she's cool. She's gonna be an actual like good. And I think we said that when we talked about the one where she's hanging out with Omega the whole episode. She seems pretty chill. So
he was like Omega and like
yeah,
around her.
That's fine. That Roland guy, he was fine. We really you and I both liked the Pike Syndicate guy. I don't know what his name is. I'm sure I'll know some soon enough, and he'll be added to the Rolodex in my memory of generic side Star Wars characters
who never show up.
Yeah, never show up, but I know their names just in case.
Just in case they ever show up, and soon.
But he was really cool.
I thought
he was
very
quite
cool.
intimidating,
and he was very intense.
He was super intense. Like some of the shit that he said, I was like, wow, they just put this in the Star Wars, not even just in like a cartoon. He was like, you better get us some money, or you and your whole family will know the definition of pain. And I was like, oh my god.
And then he like cuts off his horn.
He cuts off his horn. That was badass.
Yeah,
that was super badass. He was really cool. When he's like, yeah, he's just like kill them all, and they're like, hey, and then he's like, this. You mistook me. This isn't a negotiation.
Yeah, I'm not asking you a question.
It's like he's really interesting. He's like the most intimidating Pike Syndicate guy we've ever gotten. Because you hear about the Pike Syndicate, but they're often like one of the lesser of the crime syndicates in the Star Wars, right?
Right.
So like they appear for the first time canonically in
Solo, right?
No, in the Clone Wars.
Oh shit.
When Maul is building the Shadow Collective, they're one of the ones that he gets, right, along with Black Sun and Crimson Dawn. Right. He gets the Pike Syndicate. And they're just nothing in that. It's just because that episode, him building the Shadow Collective is literally an episode in the Clone Wars where he just goes to each of them and just like intimidates them with like brute force. He just like beats them all up and then is like, so I'm in charge now, and they're like, yep, guess
so. You're so Darth Maul.
Yeah, like that. They're not very impressed with that because Darth Maul just rolls up and like brute force takes him over. So whatever. And then they're in Solo. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't think they're in Rebels. But in Solo as well, though, they're also just kind of like the butt of the joke. Like, they're just stealing from them. They're not very intimidating.
Yeah.
They roll up to Kessel, they, like, beat up a couple Pikes, and then, like, just steal the stuff and get away with it, don't they? Like,
oh, yeah, they definitely do.
Like, it's just, it's a little bit more, like, lore. And obviously, we learned between because of Season 7 of the Clone Wars and then the end of Solo, obviously, like, at some point after, like, the Shadow Collective falls apart, and Darth Maul's in control of just Crimson Dawn in particular, and like they have like a working relationship, but he doesn't have total control like he once did. So like this is kind of like a weird point for the Shadow Collective, like the timeline of the Bad Batch, that is, because Darth Maul is like free because of the events of Season 7 of the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
but I would guess he doesn't have that firm a grip, and I would say like the different syndicates are
gaining control.
Yeah, they're kind of back out on their own again. They're branching off.
Yeah, especially with the chaos of the Emperor. Well, like the Empire kind of the Republic falling and the Empire taking its place. There's probably a lot of gray area that's arising. They can kind of take control and get their old stomping grounds back.
But yeah, that was really cool. He was very intimidating. And again, I just obviously anytime they do a reference, I'm just like, ooh,
a reference,
a thing I've heard before.
I've seen it before. I know it.
I've watched the Clone Wars. I've seen Star Wars.
I know about the War in the Stars.
So it was pretty good. But yeah, I guess every week I kind of forget how close we're getting. But like, they need to make some money moves these last 3 episodes. I think personally,
do something. I feel like we're not doing anything. I feel like we did once again. The Hunter doesn't want to help. Omega makes him help.
Oh my, yeah, that's another thing I was gonna say. Freaking yeah, Hunter's got a bit of Rick Sanchez going on now at this point. He never learns. We've done probably 15 out of the 16 episodes of the show or something. I feel like we've done, like, Hunter, we have to help. We have to lead Hunter.
We're not helping. I don't want it.
I don't want to help.
We're not helping.
We gotta look out for ourselves. And then she's like, but what if we did, though? And he's like, all right, get on.
Bro, so the times we did it and it worked?
They do it every time. I don't know. She always convinces them to help. You think at this point they'd just be like, well, how about we just don't do the dog and pony show of this time? Let's just help.
Let's help him. Let's do it.
Every single week she's like, we should do the good thing. And they're like, you know what? We should be heroes. This is the Star Wars, and we're the good guys.
We're the good clones.
So, yeah, that is also a little annoying at this point. I wish they would just be good and just stay good.
And just figure it out. Also, I wish Crosshair made any appearance, because he says in the last one, I'm going to hunt personally Clone Force 99.
We've only got 3 episodes. And, like, last episode, they seem to set up further, like, evidence for my whole... Well, not mine, but again, the whole...
Clone Uprising?
The Clone Uprising thing, because it's like... Not only are the Kaminoans plotting, but the clones on an individual level are resisting the Empire. those both together seem like a great recipe for a bit of a clone uprising.
Oh, I'd say so.
And they obviously didn't touch on that this episode. I mean, again, I guess it's cool the way they do it because it is like and I've said this before. It's similar both to Rebels and the Clone Wars. Like, it seems, I guess it's just closer to Rebels in that it follows the same group of characters, but it still has like a pretty, varying like plot lines where they change. There's not one continuous storyline they're following. They got stuff all over the place.
Yeah,
and they really don't. I don't think they've ever. Yeah, other than maybe the Ryloth stuff, they've really never done any episode that was like a two-parter. I think that's literally the only two-parter, and they certainly haven't had any more than that. Like, because Clone Wars would do like 4 and 5, well, not 5, but like arcs. 4-part arcs, where it's like these group of characters are on this one. Because it's the same group of characters every week, you can just do one-off episodes, and then the next week you just do something interesting.
Yeah, because it's an anthology.
So yeah, we jump around between like clone Empire conflict stuff, or just like this criminal underworld where they're just being mercenaries, and then we get Crosshair a little bit. But yeah, hopefully these last 3 episodes, or maybe the last 2, I don't know. So hopefully these get to be more like the meat of the some of these plots they've laid down. Especially because, like I've said a couple times, but I'll just reiterate, I think season 2 is, I mean, at least to us, from we know, like in private, they've already gone ahead with it, but publicly we have not confirmed yet a season 2. And I've said before, but like they've said basically that season 1 is self-contained enough that it should not be disappointing if it ends.
But I think they might.
I think they probably will do, but I'm just saying, like, hopefully, it doesn't seem like they wanted to leave a bunch of these plot points open-ended at the end of this season.
Right, yeah.
So I hope, like, Crosshair, I hope that gets
resolved in any way.
Yeah, a resolution. I hope that the clone uprising stuff gets resolved. I hope, like, some of the Omega stuff gets resolved. So if that's the case, I got to do some work the next couple episodes. Also, maybe, hopefully, the finale is extra long, like the premiere was. That would be nice.
That'd be good. I think that would make it like a whole
And they did
thing.
a big Camino thing again, like they did in the first episode. So
nice hour long. Give us plenty to talk about.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So for an episode, we said there wasn't a lot to talk about. We ended up talking a bit. So good on us.
All
right, so let's attack.
All right, what do you want to talk about? You had a couple of things. I have a couple of things too. Do a lot of little things this episode.
We don't have any actual like new Marvel content to talk about, but I just want to piggyback off of something we were talking about last week, and also in a sense the week before. So obviously we did our Black Widow review, and we were like positive, and then last week we talked about how a lot of people were nitpicky about Black Widow, about Taskmaster in particular, and we talked about how like people get weird with characters in the MCU for some reason. Like Taskmaster, I really can't imagine. Again, I don't want to be that guy. Like, if you really do love Taskmaster, good on you, I guess.
More power to you.
More power to you. But it seems like a lot of people suddenly, Taskmaster's their favorite character, and they can't believe that they ruined him so much. And I'm like, you guys all love Taskmaster that much? I don't know if I mentioned on the show, but I literally read, like, some people in comments of different videos and stuff being like, we could have had the best MCU villain. What? What are you basing that off of, man? Because it's like, that would only presume, like, does that mean that there's people who think Taskmaster is the best comic villain, and thus his adaptation to the MCU
would be great?
The best? Because, like, what do you mean by best villain? Like, best side villain? Because surely no one ever thought he'd be on the level of Thanos or Loki or any of the, like, the mainstay. Like, whatever. But, so what I want to talk about specifically was MCU standing.
Oh, yes. We have talked about this before off the podcast.
Because, and this kind of ties into Black Widow in particular. Not as much the Taskmaster stuff, but Black Widow and Hawkeye in particular. This is still vaguely relevant, because Black Widow just came out, and the Hawkeye show's coming up, and Young Avengers.
We gotta say, and Secret Invasion. We gotta say it once an episode.
Kate Bishop is gonna be in Young Avengers, and Hawkeye, and so I can talk about it now. But for some reason, people, like... And I guess, again, I don't... Like, obviously, this is what we do, right? This is one of the ways we talk about our nerd stuff. This is one of the ways we engage with the content we like. We do this show, so, like, can't...
Well, he without sin cast the first stone kind of thing.
That's right. So I won't... I don't want to, like, shame anyone for the way that they enjoy their nerd stuff, right? That being said, though, for some reason... I'm going to do that right now, basically. People, like, there's this, like, stan culture, like there is with musical artists and stuff, where people, like, really latch on to
a given artist.
Particular,
given artist or a particular
for artists,
character,
it's for, like, musical artists, like, and then, like, yeah, people get into like feuds or manufactured feuds, or like you have like fan bases fighting each other, essentially. And so people have migrated that behavior to the MCU, where they'll latch onto a particular character who is their favorite character or whatever, which is fine and all. And then they'll pick that one, and then they'll do the same thing. They'll like start like fights with other fans. And I think, well, you don't have talked about this before off the show, is like, I don't think, and maybe this will just make me sound like the absolute peak consumer soy boy or whatever, but like, I can't think of any MCU characters that I really dislike.
Yeah, that I would be like, oh, I can't believe they're on screen now.
Like, genuinely. I'm like racking my head right now. I mean, again, like, this is almost like controversial, but I really have no problem with Captain Marvel. Like, to me, she is what she is. I guess if you find her attitude very annoying, that would get draining. But to me, it's like, nah, that's what she does. I don't know. It just doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Because, and maybe this is controversial, but I've told you before, like, to me, Captain Marvel is very reminiscent of Iron Man, of how Tony Stark acts in the MCU, which is to say kind of like a dick. Even though they're both good guys, right? Tony Stark is an asshole. I've said that.
He's
like,
overconfident.
Really is.
He's very cocky.
Even through the end. He's obviously a good man, but he's kind of a shit dude, you know?
Yeah, he's nice, but he's not very kind.
He's not very kind, ever.
Because, like, one of the big things we always come back to is that him and Captain America are both nice guys. But if they did something nice for you, Captain America wouldn't tell you, but Tony Stark would make sure you knew what he did for you was a good thing and that you should be grateful. He'd still do it every time because he felt like he had to, but he'd make sure you knew it. Like, he would still get his recognition.
I think people are like, oh, but Tony Stark has had more. Like, I feel like people will defend that line a lot. You're like, oh, well, no, Tony Stark's different than Captain Marvel because he's, like, been around longer or whatever. But it's also like, he wasn't until he just showed up, though, one day. Like, they just did a movie for him, and we all decided we liked him, but then Captain Marvel, they did a movie for her, and everyone's like, oh, boo.
We don't like Brie Larson.
Boo, it's Brie Larson. She's going to ruin Star Wars and Marvel and everything. She's raping my childhood.
Oh, I can't believe this Academy Award-winning actress is going to be in the movies I like.
Oh,
making them more legitimate in the process.
They're going to make her Darth Revan from my favorite game, Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic. How could they do this?
How could Kathleen Kennedy do it? Doesn't she know my childhood is directly connected to this one character from this one game?
Ah!
I can't believe this happened. I'm going to go on Twitter.
But so,
God, I hate
so
Twitter.
I don't hate her. I don't know. There's
you know
villains that I don't.
My sister said she thinks Brie Larson has a very punchable face. I don't know why. It's just
Your
like,
teenage sister also doesn't like Brie Larson?
I don't know why.
Well, that's interesting. Maybe we are just in the wrong. Maybe I'm just too corrupted by
Consumerism.
Disney, that I just like all Marvel. But she really doesn't bother me. I've said before, I don't know if I said this on the pod, but I actually I think Brie Larson, or not Brie Larson, but rather the Captain Marvel character is interesting. I like her whole military service thing. That's an interesting concept to me.
Right.
And I've told you before that even though I'm obviously a man, and Captain Marvel is a woman, there's aspects of her character like that are very appealing to me, where I'm like, this is really cool. I enjoy this about her character, even though she is a woman, and not to get all weird about her or anything, but that's why sometimes when people really get hung up on that kind of stuff of well, I need this character to be a man or a woman, either one for me to enjoy it. How could I as a man sympathize with Captain Marvel? I'm like, you're really boiling it down to the base of her character, right?
Yeah, you're really missing the point.
Yeah, she's got a lot going on that make her interesting, other than either one. If you only like her because she's a woman, that's also kind of lame. But it's also, if you dislike her solely because she's a woman, that's really
almost
weird.
Kind of worse, probably.
Well, no, yeah, it's definitely worse. I mean, but yeah, she's got a lot going on that I find interesting. So her doesn't stand out to me. I'm literally trying to think. I think I've told you before. There's sometimes I feel the need to be. Maybe this is just an aspect of my personality, but somewhat of a devil's advocate. So when I see so many people being I love Tony, he's my favorite, because that is a single character I think that I've seen most of this stan behavior from.
Right.
It's people loving
Tony Stark above all else.
Which is fine. I do like him quite a bit as well. He's cool. He's great. Again, he's an asshole, but he's fun enough to watch. He's great.
Yeah.
Obviously, good on you, Robert Downey Jr. More proud to you.
Did great.
But then I almost want to be actually, maybe I don't like him. Because I just see so many people he's the best. He's the only interesting character. Because that's really what it comes out. Again, it's these faked feuds, right? So the big one I've seen is that people took the Civil War thing very much to heart.
Took it way too seriously.
So people who are big fans of Iron Man
did not like Captain
dogging
America
on Cap,
which I hate. I know what it is.
That's why I brought up this topic. Is because I hate it so much.
Now, I'm not to cut you off from your thing, but because it leads perfectly into my thoughts on this kind of thing. because I feel like a very similar thing happens with Batman and Superman is an Iron Man and Tony Stark kind of thing. Because Batman, not a great guy if you're gonna break it down.
No, he's not.
He's he's fucked up. Like, he actually has issues, and he like recruits these people and kind of brainwashes them into doing what
Children,
he wants.
usually.
Yeah, which like we're not gonna be those guys. Like, actually, Batman's mentally
No, it's...
yeah, but like
Also, like, modern writers have addressed this. It's
Yeah.
not like it's a thing.
yeah,
It's
people.
just canon or whatever now that he has flaws. Again, he's still a good guy, and like it obviously gets resolved. But
But he's not like a nice person. Like, he's got a
no,
tough
he's very
exterior.
flawed. Like
He's a flawed guy. And in a similar vein that Iron Man and Tony Stark will conveniently these very rich people who do have all these gadgets and are kind of like tough and like kind of hide their pain in different ways. Their counterparts, the all-loving American way, Captain America and Superman, are seen as bland and Boy Scouty when they have flaws. But I
Absolutely.
think it really betrays the level of, not to be a dickhead, I just gonna sound really douchey when I
Again,
say it.
yeah.
Critical reading skills.
no, for real. Again,
Because like Superman
not trying to dog
has,
on anyone, but
yeah.
for real.
Superman has flaws. Like, he's not
Absolutely.
this perfect character. Like, and so does Captain America more so, I would say, because especially in the MCU, it's just several
They're
times.
pretty out there.
Yeah.
I think. No, I would 100% agree. Because yeah, like I said, the most stand behavior I see is from no, we'll get to her in a second. Is Iron Man and Cap, and people being like, again though, it's not even. I don't see a lot of people who are like, I'm Cap stans. A lot of it is like, I'm an Iron Man stan, and I hate Captain. Don't even mention Steve Rogers in here
He
near
sucks.
me.
He's too
Like it's
perfect.
It's literally on that level where people will be like, and it's all for fun, of course. Like again, I don't want to take it too seriously. Like again, make your pages, do whatever the hell you want, make your Instagram.
Who cares?
But people literally be like, I genuinely don't like Captain America, and it's like, it's weird to me. Again, not to. I feel like we're gonna be doing this a lot, but it's like, if you like the MCU, how do you not like Captain America?
He's like
one of the big ones.
he's one of the best ones. He's the
He's
best
one
guy.
of the biggest ones. It's weird to me to be like, I love the Marvel movies, but I can't stand the 40% of the screen time which has Captain America.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Because he really, and like, again, like you said though, that's a big one. Is people be like, no, I think Iron Man is a much better character. I can just relate to him so much more because
I built a robot suit to fly around in as
I
well.
don't know. Again, I know this goes against what I just said because you should look past some of this stuff. But it's like a lot of times I see like women being like, I relate to, genius billionaire playboy philanthropist Tony Stark much more, and I'm like, but on what level? Is it just because he's snarky?
It's because he's got like snark and like is kind of funny. It's quippy. He's quippy. I mean, he's the Marvel quip.
Yeah, he's the prototype. He's the blueprint for that, right?
Yeah, he's the progenitor, as they say.
And it's like, but I don't know, because people will be like, I don't relate to Captain America at all. He's too good. Like that, literally the thing you just brought up is the thing that people do say is like, he's not interesting because he's not flawed. Iron Man is flawed, so I can relate to him because I'm just. Sorry, I moved the table over there.
No, it's
I'm
alright.
just a normal. I'm a flawed person too.
Which is
But-
well and good too.
Which is all well and fine, but again, Captain America is flawed, and it's like, not like you said not to be a dick, but it's like, are you just seeing this on the surface level of Iron Man is a shitty guy, and so I can very clearly see that he's flawed, whereas Captain America is a good guy, so it doesn't stand out to me. So he's too goody two shoes perfect because he's not a dick to everyone.
yeah.
Whereas
exactly.
Iron Man, well, no, I see him, he's really mean to everyone, so he's like me. I also have bad days. It's like, that's all well and fine, but. And I've told you, we've talked before on Pod, like, I think Captain America is flawed in some very deep ways in the MCU.
Oh, definitely.
I think I've told you this I don't think this is a theory that I originated or anything.
The hammer theory that you stick float
It's the
around?
hammer thing, yeah, it's the thing I like to talk about.
I
Is
don't
that-
see, but that's been recently. That was debunked though by.
Oh.
You didn't
Was
see
it?
that? You can actually just do the hammer theory. I don't debunk
Alright,
it.
so basically the thing was, and whether the hammer is related is almost irrelevant. I do think that regardless of that, this is an essential element of Captain America's character in the MCU. But the reason, one of the big flaws he has is that, or maybe the biggest flaw he has, is that, so in Age of Ultron, obviously, he tries to lift the hammer, and he maybe can, but can't. I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, we've said before, you and I have, that I think he probably can always just lift it, because it doesn't really work like that. It's kind of all or nothing, right?
Yeah.
So I think in that moment, he probably can just lift it, and he decides not to, because he's like, I don't need to mess with Thor in that way. Just let him have this. I wouldn't gain anything by flexing on him this way, right?
Yeah, in front of everyone.
So I think that's really what's going on in that scene, is that he probably could lift it the whole time. Because, like, then that's supported by Endgame, right? When Thor's like, I knew it. So, like, clearly Thor had his suspicions that Captain America could lift it the whole time.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's not, if you're worthy, you can lift it. It's not, if you're a little worthy, you can half
You
lifted.
can like kind of lift it. You can get
Right.
like an inch off the ground.
Because surely everyone's a little bit worthy.
in a sense, if you can move it a little
Right.
bit.
So whatever. But also in Age of Ultron, there's that scene where Scarlet Witch gets up in everyone's heads, right? And she shows them seemingly their greatest fears, right?
Yeah.
She shows Thor like Ragnarok where he's failed.
Everyone dies.
And everyone's
Shows
died.
Tony when
He
they
shows-
invade.
Yeah, he shows Tony. Or she shows him that, I guess, in the beginning of the movie. But
Yeah.
yeah. She shows Black Widow her, like, the most traumatic parts of her training in the Red Room. And she shows Captain America a party where he's back in America,
1940s America.
1940s America, at the end of World War II. And Peggy's there, and she's like, we did it, Steve. We won. And that's his greatest fear, it seems, is that he talks about this sometimes directly, is that I think his fear, it's not necessarily the end of war,
End of his usefulness.
because I don't think he's, I think it's that. I don't think he's so, like, callous that he's like, I need war, like, I would rather war,
Than
because
no
obviously
war.
he wants peace, like, that's why we fight, to end the fight, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing they say.
So we can go home.
So we can go home. So I do think he wants peace, but he's also scared of, if there is no fight, what is his role? And like that's a very deep thing. And again,
because
it's not,
that's the reason he was built. He was
Yeah.
built as a weapon to end the war. So once the
Right.
war's over, you don't need the weapon anymore.
you know, if there was no World War II, he would not be where he was, right?
He'd just be some skinny kid from New York City.
Yeah, he really would. He'd have never met Peggy. He would have never obviously lived the life that he did, not even close. And like, so I think it's a pretty valid it's a very interesting element of his character, I think. And it comes up in The Winter Soldier. He's like talking to Sam. He's like, I'm thinking about getting out maybe, but I don't know what I would even do with myself. Like, this is a recurring theme of his character in the MCU, but I think it's a little bit below the surface. They don't actually bring it up a lot.
Yeah.
So I think it maybe just kind of slips people's notice. But I think it's very interesting, this idea that, yeah, Captain America was built for war. He's terrified that he cannot exist without war, and that's not a good place for him to be, because he should want to totally end it all. And again, I think he still does, but like it just puts him in this very interesting spot. So to be like Captain America isn't flawed, he's too simple, is like, again, he's not a surface level of I'm like a narcissistic asshole who pushes away the people I love, like Iron Man.
Yeah.
But he's got some depth.
He's got flaws and layers like an onion.
Like an onion.
And I feel like that ties into kind of the hate that comes from with Thor.
Yeah.
This isn't quite go stand culture, but Thor, I think, in my personal opinion, and I will fight this to my last breath, I think the arc he goes through from Ragnarok to Endgame is probably one of the best in the MCU, truthfully. Because he has such an interesting arc.
Yeah.
Because in Ragnarok, he loses almost everything. His home, his eye, his hammer, his father, a sister, and then he becomes king, and then it's all taken away from him. And one of the best scenes in that movie, in my opinion, of Infinity War, a movie I very much enjoy, is when he's talking to Rocket, and he gets very emotional, and he talks about how everyone he's been known is killed, but he has to win. Like, he's always won, and fate wills it so, and he's so sure it's like a coping mechanism. Like, it's confidence, but it's almost like warped.
In that scene in particular,
perverted.
It seems very like false. Like, yeah, like he's putting it on. It's a bit of false confidence.
Yeah, like, well, I've done it before. He's never fought me twice.
Yeah, he's insane. He's not thinking or talking rationally when he's like, oh, I gotta beat Thanos. He never faced me. And Rocket's like,
he
what?
did, and he kicked your ass.
He just did that at the beginning of this movie, and he's like, yeah, but he didn't do me.
No one's ever fought me twice.
Like, it's insane.
And then he's like, well, what if you lose? And he goes, well, okay, what else could I? It's like it doesn't. And then the shear is gone. He goes, well, what else could I lose? And then that's capped off. I mean, we're saying this, but this has been done to death. But I want to talk about it. It's when he goes for the chest.
Yeah.
He it's so euphoric for him to get him, to show Thanos up, and then it instantly backfires, and he feels responsible because it is his fault.
He didn't really follow through.
Yeah, he got too much in his own head. He knew what he should have done, and he ignored it to just get the glory. And then people don't like Fat Thor, and I think that's, again, a betrayal of the character. Like, that's very important. And I think it's important, not even just for Thor, but for people watching.
Yeah.
Like, that, I hear all the time that people love the scene where he gets Mjolnir back. Yeah. Because it shows that even though he's, like, very clearly depressed and sad and, like, can't handle it, he's still worthy. Like, he's still Thor.
Yeah.
He's still who he is. Like, it doesn't define him. and to take that away from him is, I think, is
I
disingenuous.
agree. It's very weird when people are like, I mean, I understand it to an extent that it would be nice if all the main Avengers were sort of on their A game for Endgame, like for their last outing as that roster at least.
Yeah,
it would be nice if everyone was on the top of their game. But then again, none of them really are.
Yeah.
Like, they're all in kind of a weird space because of what happened. And yeah, obviously Thor's is the most visible, but also by the end, he is still Thor. Like, I see people be like, oh, I kind of wish, well, they could have done Fat Thor, but then at the end, when he gets his hammers, why doesn't he just not be fat anymore? It's like,
Well, it defeats the purpose. That makes him,
Come on.
that ruins it.
right.
If he becomes
Also,
thin,
he's still Thor.
yeah, he
He's
still
still
can
an
summon lightning.
Asgardian. Like, he's not
Ultra-powerful. Weak.
strong because he's buff. He's strong because he's like an alien, so he's
Yeah.
still strong and all.
Fat Thor could probably beat everybody up.
Still beat everyone up.
Yeah, like, it was only like that. Even Buff Thor didn't beat Thanos.
right.
Like, Buff,
Exactly.
he could still beat all of them.
Well, because you're right. Like, when people are like, "Oh, that's not how it should have gone," there was nowhere else. And again, this is one of those things where, like, I suppose if you take it back 8 steps, you're like, they should have done it differently. Here, then here to get to that point. But at some point, it's like there was nowhere for him to go. If you had seen Infinity War, again, maybe you don't like how they handled him in that one, fine. But if you'd seen Infinity War, there is nowhere for him to go because he can't just keep going. Yeah, the whole movie was him with
Building
this, like,
back up.
this just rage burning in him and this false bravado, and then it's stripped away piece by piece between, like, him failing to beat Thanos, and then, like, in the beginning of Endgame, he's just, like, furious, right? Because,
Yeah.
like you said, it's another thing where he's like, he thinks it's his fault, and then he kills Thanos, but it doesn't actually do anything.
It's too little, too late.
Like, there was nowhere else for him to go. He needed to be. I think he probably needed to be broken down in a way so that he could build up again. Because the Thor that we have at the end of Infinity War is not in a good place in his own right. I mean, it's interesting. It's a cool character. Like, a lot of people, myself included, I really do like that when he rolls up at the Battle of Wakanda.
Oh, that's a great scene.
Like, it's really cool and all, but
Yeah.
he's obviously actually not in a good place, right? He's not actually addressing any of the things.
He's coping
Yeah.
with it in a bad way.
in a bad
and
way.
one of the great things about Endgame is when he talks to his mom. Like,
Yeah.
that really sets up the rest of his arc, because she's like, well, everybody fails. Like, you need, like, just accept it. Like, it's fine. It's okay if you failed. Like, you tried your best and it didn't work, and that's not the end of the world. And
I mean, it kind of was.
well,
In his case, it was almost literally.
in the world. It literally was. Many people died. Trillions of people died.
But also, that wasn't all on him.
Yeah, there was
He
a lot
can't take that all himself.
because there were other people. He wasn't the only guy. He wasn't the last line of defense.
They let it get to that point either.
Yeah, exactly. But he just had to figure out who, like, he wants to, like, who he really is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's always been, and I think through the entire movies and what they built, like you said, like, oh, if they did the first Thor movie differently, maybe. But the whole movie is him. All of his movies that he's in are him thinking that he has to be the warrior of Asgard, the sword that defends, and he has to be perfect and he has to win every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And his mom's like, well, you don't. Like,
Right.
you're just like a
Again,
a-
he
like
seems
a
to take
guy.
it. They are kind of all dealing with that in Endgame. Like, Tony has his own kind of moment of, like, I failed, right? In Infinity War, all three of, I mean, obviously pretty much every Avenger, but the three, big main ones in
Yeah, the
particular,
big three of them.
they all do that. They all go one-on-one with Thanos at a point and fail. Like, Tony, I guess, lasts the longest. Like, he has that kind of protracted battle with Thanos on Titan, but he loses, right?
Then he pulls up.
Cap, obviously, just because of his power set, can last for hardly a second, but he puts up a good try and he fails.
Yeah. Well, I know people have noted that in that scene where he pushes the gauntlet,
Mhm.
Thanos kind of, like, gives him a look like, oh, you're actually maybe better, and then he just punches him in the face with a non-gauntlet hand. So to show that, okay, you got strength, but I'm just so above you, it's not even funny. It's like
Again,
an
not
ant
to-
fighting a dinosaur.
Once again, not to be these kind of guys, but
Not
yeah,
to be this guy.
but it does kind of feel like people are like, he's fat. That's not cool.
It made him funny.
Why can't he be cool? Why isn't he buff and strong? It's like, well, kind of read what's going on here, man.
Read the room, dude.
Listen to what they're telling you. Like,
Watch the movie.
This is important for
Just
him.
watch the movie, man.
Yeah. We need character development going on. This isn't Rick and Morty. They actually develop characters.
Look at that. That's what people come for on our show, Zach. Callbacks.
That's right.
Full circle.
We've kind of got veered a little off track here, but because I promised this was actually tied into Hawkeye and Black Widow, and we didn't actually talk
We
about either of
talked
them
about
yet.
Thor. The furthest one of them away.
But so yeah, the Cap one and the Iron Man one is one that I think is silly because even though they do have the feud in Civil War, which, like, I don't know. People also argue about the Civil War thing even to this day. I always just like I was on, I suppose, Team Cap if I had to pick one, right? I don't know about you, but like in that movie, it's clearly just like, and I don't. Maybe it's because that is a Captain America movie. They do present both sides having some strengths, but like within that movie, I think it's pretty cut and dry that
Like,
Captain America is just right.
In the right on this one. I definitely.
I mean, maybe it's something like, well, they can't really know that until the very end, and all the pieces are in play. But also, pretty much the whole movie through, you're like, he's right, because Bucky didn't do it. The Accords were no good, right? The next movie we see the Avengers in Infinity War, Ross is like, well, you can't do that. You can't go save the world now because of the Accords. So the Accords clearly were a bad idea. Literally, Rhodey is like, fuck, I shouldn't have signed these Accords, Ross. You're a dick.
I'm gonna get court-martialed. I don't give a shit.
Like, because they're here's the thing, I guess, is that in that movie they're both acting out of emotion, right? Cap is doing a lot of he does because of how he feels about his friend Bucky, and Iron Man's doing a lot of what he does in that movie because of that woman who kills him in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Because that is Cap, or like Iron Man's whole thing in the MCU is that he's just constantly burdened with all this guilt, right?
From his old life.
From his old life, and this is just kind of like a microcosm of that. It's not the same thing, of course, but he's like, I thought I was doing better. Like I stopped selling weapons. I thought we were being the Avengers,
and then I had to fight
and
the
then
Hulk.
that also like was bad.
Yeah.
Like, I still messed up, and people got hurt because of me. Again, it's like kind of ignoring that they saved the whole planet when they did that. That's the type of stuff that I hate. Like, I mean, again, we're getting very off track, but like the whole like, oh, what about the casual? What about the people who got hurt? If they didn't do anything, like, yeah, when they're like, oh, and now I guess Age of Ultron's a little different because Iron Man literally created Ultron, so like in that way he did create the problem. I guess if you totally took him out of the equation, there would have never been no flying city to begin with. But when that mom is like, you dropped a building on my son, yeah, but also I stopped him from destroying the planet, which is what he was gonna do.
Yeah,
but whatever. So yeah, that's a big one. Is the Cap versus Iron Man fuse. But then the other big one, for some reason, bizarrely enough, is people who are like Black Widow, Natasha stans, and then they're against
Clint Barton.
Yeah, they're against Hawkeye, which is very strange because they're not even antagonists in the stuff in the MCU, right? Like in the story content.
Yeah.
Obviously because of Civil War, like there is a bit of like, whoa, Cap versus Tony stuff, right? That is going on, but they are on opposite sides of the Civil War, but also they're still best friends.
Yeah.
So it's very weird to me
They've
that
known each
people
other
are
for
like,
many years.
yeah, I love Natasha, but I hate Clint, even though they like each other very much. They're best friends.
And they say, and they like, even in Civil War, they're like, "Oh, we're still gonna be friends after this." And he goes, "Oh,
Yeah.
depends how hard you hit me." They're not really taking it too seriously with each other.
Crazy. Black Widow's almost entire motivation in the first Avengers movie is to save him in particular.
Yeah. I mean, her kids call her Aunt Nat.
Yeah, it's a very strange one to me. And this was recently like reignited by the Black Widow movie coming out. Is like people who are very mad about her being killed. And this actually just still kind of tie into the Iron Man one. Is like a lot of people really hate that about Endgame. Is that Cap and Natasha, or not Cap, Iron Man and Natasha die. I mean, Cap obviously does his own sort of end, but which, again, like if that's your favorite character, I understand. But also, like sometimes that happens in narratives. I don't know.
Sometimes the character has to die.
Whatever. But so that's been reignited though. Basically, the whole like it should have been Hawkeye, which I just disagree with.
I agree. I agree with your disagreement. Quite frankly.
I mean, again, maybe I'm biased because I probably would have always said I liked Hawkeye more. One, just because he's a bit of like he's a bit of an underdog because everyone since the Avengers came out has been making like the Hawkeye jokes, like how many arrows? What's he gonna bring? 6 arrows?
I got 11 of them.
So like,
There's a whole SNL sketch about that.
The whole SNL sketch and everything, which is fine and like fair enough. But I like Hawkeye. I've talked before, and we shall talk again about that comic run that I love so much. So I'm a fan of Hawkeye, and I've always kind of rooted for him even in the MCU. I like Jeremy Renner as an actor and a lot of various stuff that also isn't just the MCU.
Right. He's got his own band.
Yeah, he does do that sometimes. Good on him. But so I never personally got it. Why people... Because like people, they just come up with the silliest takes to tear down Hawkeye. Like, oh, how come when he was Ronin, he was killing Asian people? It's like,
but he wasn't only killing Asian people. He killed cartels in Mexico.
You're right. I was being a little disingenuous. People are like, why was he only killing people of color? Because it's like he's in Mexico killing cartels, and then he's in Japan killing the Yakuza. Are the only ones we see. Now, I would argue one that we just don't see him
For
but
5
he's
years.
presumably killing people the world over.
Yeah.
Second of all,
The Mexican cartel and the Japanese Yakuza are the most prominent.
they're just bad guys. Like, it's a weird hill to die on to be like, well, he was killing the cartel was racist of him. It's like, really? Come on.
Yeah, the cartel are not good.
And also,
the good
it's
guys.
like if you're a Black Widow fan who's like, Clint didn't deserve to live because he was so far gone and all because he killed people, but you like Black Widow?
Do you know what she did? You
Here's
know what
the
she
thing.
is?
Here's the thing, and I'm not even saying this bothers me because it just doesn't. But everyone in the MCU are killers.
Yeah.
They're all killers. Like, they don't have any quibbles like it with it like they do in the comics sometimes. They'll kill anyone. They'll kill anyone and everyone. If there's a bad guy, they will kill them. Like, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Which is just what people do in the world, like soldiers and stuff. I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
because in a lot of ways, in the sake of like realism, a lot of the characters are just made into sort of like special forces. Like, that's what Hawkeye did. He was essentially a government assassin. Black Widow was a government assassin for two different governments,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Tony Stark sold weapons to the government.
Yeah, but once he has his Iron Man suit, those aren't exactly less than lethal, are they?
No, he's shooting
He's rocketing
lasers.
dudes. He's lasering and rocketing dudes all the livelong day. Captain America in
Throws a giant
Winter
metal
Soldier.
disc at people.
In the Winter Soldier, when they bring him on board and they make him like a government agent, he's just working as also like just a special ops soldier. He's that scene where he like raids the boat. He probably kills half those guys because he just punches so hard.
Yeah, he punches them right through steel.
Yeah, he's punching them into walls and like off of the boat and stuff.
Yeah, they're dead. They've
He's
drowned.
killing dudes for sure.
Yeah, they're all dead.
Which again, it's like,
And Thor, especially, he's a warrior. He's a thousands of year old
oh my
warrior.
goodness,
Who
Thor will
killed
kill anyone and
his
everyone.
first movie? He kills Frosthands for
Oh
fun.
my god, So like this weird like it just feels like they're manufacturing again because of this weird stand
Culture.
shit. I don't get it. You're allowed to like Hawkeye, or I guess in this case, you're allowed to like Black Widow,
And also think Hawkeye's just neat.
or just nothing. But you don't have to like manufacture reasons why he's bad and should have died instead.
Yeah, I
Because
guess.
here's the thing: for the purposes of the story, it was the only way to go. I think.
Oh yeah. 100%
One,
agree.
Now they both had this going on, so they both had like I've done bad stuff. I want to be like this is a way to redeem myself. But for Black Widow in particular, that has been her through line for literally the entire MCU since Avengers 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her whole thing has been I have a dark past that I'm trying to make up for. Hawkeye's dark past is all essentially from.
Government sanctioned.
Well, I was gonna say from that movie. He's like, oh, I've too far gone because I killed all those cartel guys, but that has never been a plot point for him prior to that, right?
Yeah.
He never, again, he probably did do some bad stuff, but it never seemed to really weigh on him like it did Black Widow in particular.
Yeah, Black Widow's whole life has been like,
Yeah, and well,
unfortunately drenched in blood.
MCU Hawkeye seems to have always just been on the. And maybe we'll get more of this in his solo show. We'll see some more of his
They ever
backstory.
fucking announce what it's gonna come out?
But he seems to have always just been a shield guy, right? Like Black Widow's thing is that she used to work for Soviet Russia, and that was kind of sketchy, right? That's why she has so much to make up for. So, like, in that way, it was the only way to go. Like, because if she had let Hawkeye die, she would have felt worse. And, like, I don't even know what you do with her then. She would have not... Like, that's not what she wanted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you're a Black Widow fan, I don't know how you can be like, she should have let Hawkeye die.
No, not really.
And then the other thing is, Hawkeye has a family. Like...
He's got a family to work for.
And I've seen people be like, oh, Hawkeye's no good because he abandoned his family to be in the Avengers. It's like... Did he?
He goes
He
back to
didn't
them.
abandon them. Also, yeah, like, I don't know, he had a duty. Like, that's a lot of people do stuff like that.
Yeah, does everyone in the military abandon their family?
Right. Yeah, like, that's pretty shitty to be like,
He's
he abandoned them. He doesn't deserve his family because he left them to go be Avengers.
But he's not being an Avenger to play poker and drink beer with
Oh, yeah.
Captain America. He's doing it to like
Like, when he
help
goes
people.
to help Captain America in Civil War in particular, because they're like, he was retired. He should have just stayed with his family. Why do you leave them? Dude, come on. Like, he was important.
Felt like he had a duty.
Yeah.
And I'm sure his wife.
It's very strange. Again, it just feels like they're manufacturing reasons to hate him.
And then it's not like when they went, all right, we'll cut you a deal. We'll let you see your family, but you have to be on house arrest. He wasn't like,
No, he just
nah.
did that.
I went, oh no, I'll be okay. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I'll do that immediately. I want to be with my family.
Yeah.
So like, come on,
It's
man.
very strange. Again, if you're unhappy that they killed Black Widow, that's fine. Like, I get it. If she was your favorite character, that would suck.
It's tough to have your favorite character die.
But also, it's not. I mean, sometimes it just happens in stories. Again, obviously, you could be like, why did they even write a scenario where someone had to die? Fair
Stakes.
enough. I mean,
Yeah, stakes, I guess.
yeah, I guess you're right. But also, yeah, I don't know. People die sometimes. I guess I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
Because like when you hear that and people like writing their own endings to Endgame where Black Widow and
Iron Man.
Iron Man get to live. It's like, so what is? There's no stakes in that version of the movie then.
Yeah.
Like, there's already pretty limited stakes to begin with.
In the MCU.
To be honest, with Endgame, like because those really are the only two losses. Like going in, people thought we'd get a lot more.
I really thought that Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor were all gonna die.
Yeah, and obviously, like Captain America also is kind of out of commission, but in a different sort of way. But yeah, like it's very strange that people want no stakes in their entertainment.
But I guarantee you, if that happened, they'd be like, "What happened to the stakes? Nobody died when they were fighting Thanos." Like
Right.
you can't please these people.
So yeah, I guess to leave that one off, it's like again, I don't want to hate on anyone for engaging in their nerd stuff and whatever way they do, but like. I guess here's the thing. Here's the rabbit. To me, the thing about the Stan stuff is that it's obnoxious and not necessarily harmless. It's that you're like bothering other people to be like, why do you like Captain America? Why do you like Hawkeye? Which like that's when it crosses a line, right?
Yeah, you can like what you like and say all your opinions, but once you start stop bothering people, man. Leave them alone.
This is a Captain America free zone. It's like, again, regardless of what you think, he's like the main or second main guy of this whole thing. People are going to talk about him.
Yeah,
he's going to be an essential. A lot of people who like the MCU are going to coincidentally like him. So if you're going to be like, I'm a big MCU fan, you're probably going to just have to put up with that, I guess. Like, whatever. But so yeah, but even we got back to Captain America then again. But yeah, the Black Widow Hawkeye one to be is crazy because they are best friends in that. Like, so it's weird to me that the Black Widow stans are trying to find reasons to hate Hawkeye when she liked Hawkeye a lot.
Yeah, they were very good friends.
Yeah,
helped her through it. And anything I thoughts? Basically, we hate people who watch these movies. Is our final thoughts?
I guess so. Sorry, guys. If you run a Black Widow stan account, I'm sure you're one of the good ones.
If you listen to the show,
you're swell.
You're one of the good ones. So,
all right, Attack into probably. Where are we at time wise?
We're at about an hour and 22 minutes.
So yeah, this will probably be the last one.
No,
we spread this out a little more than I was thinking. I thought this was gonna be a light week, but I got to rant. I got to do a traditional Zach rant.
I think because I think we just really like talking about MCU stuff.
Yeah, it's great.
It's gonna be our bread and butter. Are we gonna do? You gonna do the timeline shifting thing?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get to.
Okay, good. I didn't know if you wanted to get that.
Because there was no actual MCU content this week, I just got to rant about a thing that bothers me. All right, Attack. So Jack,
that'll be good for the editing.
The wheel of time has turned, and the ages begin anew.
The ages begin really quite in line with the themes of the book. So we talked about in episode 4, listeners. I don't know if you remember. Well, of course you remember, because as always, like I always tell you, listen to every episode every week in sequential order.
Yeah.
We talked about how we're planning on doing Wheel of Time and Discworld and a bunch of fantasy series.
We were thinking about reading them
because we're really into fantasy, Zach and I. And our main plan was to be like, well, there's so much Marvel stuff, so much like TV shows. We'll just wait until December. Christmas will come around. We'll get these for Christmas or whatever the fuck. And we'll read them in January and we'll do the episodes then. Oopsie daisy. Amazon and other plans. Daddy Bezos really fucked us up on that one. There's a Wheel of Time show coming out. That's coming out in November. So now our timeline has shifted on when we're going to have to read these. So we're going to read the first 2 books. Probably talk about them on the show.
2 books at the very least.
In prepreration, and then watch the show.
Yeah, we'll watch the show and probably talk about it every week. I'm very excited. I mean, we don't have much to say about this because we have not.
We don't know anything about Wheel of Time.
Yeah, we have not read. We know the general we know about premise. It. I got a lot of the gist, but obviously not enough to discuss.
I'm excited to read them. Like I said, I really like fantasy series.
Yeah,
we're big fantasy boys.
Like you said, like I knew about this, but I guess it really didn't sink in until it's like it's coming. Like this will be cool. I think this is going to be like, I mean, I feel like every fantasy show that's popped up in the past decade gets this little thing, but it's like maybe this might be the next Game of Thrones kind of deal. Like, I think it'll be comparable in scale and scope and budget and quality and all that because it's a premium Amazon show. They're putting a lot of money into it.
They've already greenlit season 2.
I was just say, we talked about off pod that they already greenlight season 2. Actually, matter of fact, like they've have begun production on season 2. They are filming season 2 already, like right now. So, like they're very confident in it. They're putting a lot of money in it, which is something I personally really like about Amazon. because the Lord of the Rings show they're doing there is also getting the same treatment. Whereas like Netflix in particular has this seems to have this tendency to like put a thing out, gauge how it does, and then
Never doing
go. Like, I don't know if you saw any of this, but like they did that with Jupiter's Legacy.
Yeah, I did see that. They canceled it too.
I think that was two factors. I think one was that it didn't do well enough, but two was that the first season the budget absolutely blew out on it.
Yeah.
So it just didn't end up being profitable. But like, yeah, they kind of play it by ear, and Netflix has that like famous or rather infamous thing of like nothing ever gets like a third or fourth season. Like they like to stop for some reason. But yeah, to me it was really reassuring that they are already working on a second season, so they must be confident enough in this first one.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they're putting money into it. It should be really high quality. So it's cool. I don't know. It'd be nice to, again, not to jinx it by saying it'll be the next Game of Thrones, but it'll be really cool to have knock on wood.
Knock on wood for that.
It should be cool to have another like high quality fantasy series about. HBO has had His Dark Materials, which I watched season 1 of, but hasn't been keeping up with. But also that's wrapping up. Like season 3, that'll be it. I think so.
Fuck, we watch.
And it's also not on the same kind of level.
Oh no.
Like this is like, if anything, Game of Thrones is not on the level of fantasy that the Wheel of Time is. The Wheel of Time is high fantasy.
Yeah.
So it'll be cool. I'm excited.
Probably bigger than higher than Lord of the Rings.
I would. Yeah, there's
fantasy.
more magic and stuff than Lord of the Rings. Like, yeah, it'll be sick. I'm excited.
I'm excited.
To read them. I'm blazing through the Stormlight archives. I'll be wrapped up with those very soon.
Better be, because I'm gonna be blazing through these.
Yeah,
Wheel
and
of
then we're
Time
gonna get
books.
on Wheel of Time.
I'll probably talk about them as we get closer. I'd assume.
Yeah.
To put it lightly, listeners, episodes are gonna get long towards the end of the year because we're gonna have Eternals to talk about, Hawkeye show, and Wheel of Time. We're gonna have a lot to talk about, and hopefully you like it.
Hopefully. I mean, yeah, we'll play it by ear. I even had the idea at one point. I mean, this might be getting a little big for our britches here, but of doing a separate little like spin-off, like midweek kind of thing, where we just talked about books, a bit of like a book club thing. We'll obviously play it by ear, but
yeah,
that could work almost. We'll see if we want to. We'll see what we get to.
We'll see.
For the next couple of weeks, though, we definitely are. There's less going on content-wise. So.
Well, we got not. Well, that's not true.
No,
only for 2 weeks.
Why?
Because next year we're talking about Green Knight.
That's right. No, we do have that. That'll
and then the week after might be a slower week, but we can just watch a movie for that or something.
No, I'm just saying. And I think we'll have some of those. Although, yeah, these Marvel shows might be unrelenting towards the back half of this year.
Yeah, we might.
With Hawkeye and Miss Marvel, and them like there might not be like several week gaps like this again for a while between the Marvel shows and the Star Wars shows and stuff. But I don't know. We're getting a little off track. But yeah, we're excited to. Again, we don't know anything about the Wheel of Time, so this is just general. Like, hey, we're gonna read it. We're excited to read it because it's probably pretty good.
Hopefully, you like it.
I don't know. I've heard conflicting things about the Wheel of Time. I've heard some people say
all the way through.
"Oh, it's just another fantasy thing." But then I've heard some people be like,
"It's the greatest
one. It's the fantasy thing.
The greatest.
It's the greatest fantasy.
Better than Lord of the Rings."
Yeah, it is. It is perfect. Like sort of. This is yes. It is in some ways kind of another high fantasy, but it's the best of them. It perfects it. And then I've seen some people be like, yeah, that it sags a lot in the middle, but like in a big way. But then maybe some people that's less effective.
Yeah. So we'll have to see for ourselves.
Yeah. But I think we'll probably enjoy
So we're probably going to read, our plan for it is probably to read, I don't know if I've mentioned it, but if I do, I'll cut this out, is to read the first 2 books, because we don't know, because there's 14 books.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume they're probably going to try to do 2 books or a book and a half per season just to keep it moving.
And we might look into it to see if they've given any word about how much the first season will cover.
But I think the first 2 books will give us just enough that we'll know season 1 at least, and we can look ahead.
Yeah.
And we won't possibly get spoiled by the show in any way. So yeah, those are our plans. And of course, like I said before, we got all the Marvel movies, Invincible. We got a ton of stuff we're going to try to fit in whenever we can. So on that note, we're going to probably end the episode right here.
Yeah,
it's been a pretty good episode. As always, you can email us at echatechjazz@gmail.com and tell us how you thought about the show. What you want us to read or listen to or watch or whatever. Fuck, we even do music if we run out of shit to talk about. Maybe now we're not big music guys, but fuck it, whatever.
Yeah.
We're slaves of content. Tell your friends, please. Please tell your friends. I beg you. I'm not that begging. I need it. Please. I'm begging you. I'm going to cry. I'll cry on podcast next week if nobody tells their friends. Or get cursed.
We will both weep openly.
For 20 minutes.
Just a 20-minute unedited section of us just crying into the mics.
Think I edit any of this anyway?
Right, exactly.
But of course, as always, This podcast was written, created, edited, craft services, produced by us, JNC. Our logo is done by Jeffrey Gonzalez at ingocean.jpg on Instagram and possibly Redbubble. And we're, as always, we're on Podbean, Spotify, Google Play, hopefully Pandora, and Audible/Amazon Music. And maybe Apple one day. We'll figure it out. But yeah, thanks again for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Have a good day.
See you.